Last night was the monthly Azure Standard pickup for the drop in my area. And I thought as I was getting it out, this would be a fun video to share with you all. I love watching what other people get from the grocery store, from their Azure Standard hauls, whatever place they shop. I know I personally shop in lots of different places. I have things I like from a lot of different places, and over the years, I've collected together my favorite. I also am going to be filling my pantry so you can see where I keep these things. The first thing I got was a whole bunch of bread flour. We keep our excess flour and a few different baking items, like if I get a bulk deal on sugar. I also have some of my favorite granola all up in this very high cabinet. The reason, well, for keeping the granola up there is we can keep, kids from always wanting it. If there's something that's snacky available, kids tend to like to just get that at any time. It's just easier to keep it out of the way and not worry about it. And then also because if we keep too many bags that mice can get into, we can attract that here on our farm. The next thing I stocked up on is a variety of organic pastas. I like to get einkorn pasta from Thrive Market, and I get some organic pastas from there as well. I have been putting this order together over a few months because the last couple months, I knew I wasn't going to be able to make it to the Azure orders for various reasons, to the Azure drop. And so I just was adding things that looked intriguing. And so whenever I got the order, I was like, oh yeah, I did order that. But we can never have too much pasta here in our house. Now, I did have to move a few things around in order to accommodate it. One was I had a large stock of jovial einkorn flour from Thrive Market down in the cabinet where I planned to put the pasta. So I'm filling up my jars. This is what I always intend to do. Whenever I keep things very in sight, it's easy to use them. It's easy to see what we have. It's just an effort of refilling them constantly that needs to happen. I mean, we had a bag of organic sugar that we wanted to make custard with yesterday, or maybe that was even today. And we couldn't find it. And I thought we were out. And then today, of course, I found it. We also go through a ton of cocoa powder here in our house, just a ridiculous amount. But we make these afternoon shakes, I guess you could call it. We call it chocolate milk time, where we blend up raw milk, cocoa powder, honey, maple syrup, sometimes the collagen peptides, whatever we can, just make a sweet chocolate milk style drink. It's a good afternoon snack for kids. Now, one thing I've been getting into lately, which I'm going to excuse my messy pantry yet again. I know you guys are probably like, why does your pantry always get messy? And I've decided that on a homestead, you can only be so minimalist. I need a large quantity of glass jars. Sometimes I have very few if I've given milk to a lot of people or we're really behind on making cheese, making butter, making yogurt, and they're all in the refrigerator with milk. So sometimes I have a lot of jars in this pantry. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I have to find other places to stash them so that I can fit in things like cheese aging. So I've recently got into this cheese hobby ever since our second cow freshened, and I've been loving it. But that means that I have a whole bunch more different cheese making accessories and wheels of cheese aging in the pantry. So this place gets used so much that to make it this neatly organized, perfectly minimal place just doesn't completely work, which means I just have to address it a lot, which is okay with me. It's a working kitchen. I also picked up some oats from Azure Standard. Apparently I ordered 2 bags, which is great though, because again, we have so much milk right now. One way that I can use up a lot of milk is by making oatmeal. I'll just make the entire thing with milk instead of any water. I also will soak it in milk the night before. So oats are good. The kids love oats, especially as berries start becoming ripe. It's a very nice thing to put berries and cream in. So apparently I ordered a lot of oats, but that's okay. I do have another not so pretty spot in the cabinets to the right there. The best way for me to remember what I have in there is just to pull things out and put them on display if possible. Otherwise, it's a lot of tomato products like tomato paste, canned tomatoes, canned beans. You can spy there in the back my really messy cabinet. It is full of plastic shopping bags, milk jugs. I have plastic ones that people have brought us and given us because in the beginning of this whole thing, I didn't have enough milk jars and we were just swimming in it. But also I use the plastic shopping bags for so many things. In the morning when we go out to milk, we will put the wet rags that we're going to clean the cow up with in a plastic bag, so that way it keeps it warm and wet so that we can use it to clean, but not have to bring a bucket of water out. I also use not the same ones, of course, the bags to put my sourdough in the refrigerator overnight. It's a really easy way to wrap it in plastic without having to wrap the entire thing in plastic wrap. So that's just messy because it's full of all of those types of things. We also have a few like cow medicines, and just, like I said, it's so hard to be minimal on a homestead. I'm filling up the sugar that I found today. I ran into the living room whenever I found it to show it off to my daughter because she kept saying, "Mother, we need sugar." And I said, "I know we have some somewhere," and I just couldn't find it. And this is why I have to constantly revisit my pantry. I just pulled a bag of rye flour, again, in the same thing I was just saying. I love collecting things, stocking up on things, and I will just forget that I have them. Now, with that being said, I don't want any of you to think that because of that we waste a lot of things, or that I should rotate this stuff. We use all of this stuff so fast that I never have to throw anything away. I've never had to get to the bottom of the oats and say, "Oh, they're bad," and then we don't use them. We still, when we use it. We go through high quantities of food. And actually, right after I shot this video, I made a couple loaves of rye buttermilk bread. So I saw that I have a large quantity of rye, so now I'm going to be throwing 100 grams of rye into all of my loaves for a while. And then the buttermilk is because we've been making so much butter with the cream from our cow that I have been replacing every part that has water in my sourdough recipes with buttermilk. It makes for a really soft, beautiful loaf. Everyone loves them. I also found in the pantry, I had this bag of 7-grain cereal. I purchased it because I was testing a recipe for the blog, a 7-grain or a whole grain. It was a multi-grain sourdough bread. And I had that to test the recipe a couple times, but of course we are going to use it. I don't have a label made for that or a specific jar. So I just went ahead and put it in one of my half-gallon jars and labeled it with the dry erase marker that we use to label our milk. I also picked up a gallon of honey from Azure Standard. We just ran out recently, so I've been buying small quantities at the local, Aldi, Target, those kind of places. I keep our honey here in this cabinet along with various whole grains. I have buckets of wheat. I believe that's some kamut in there. I have lots of salt. I buy large quantities of salt from Redmond Real Salt. I've always used a lot of salt, but now that I'm making cheese, there is a brine associated with making cheese, which means that I'm using it in even higher quantities. So I'll just continue to stock that little cabinet full of it. This is the cabinet where there's plumbing. If anyone ever wanted this house and wanted a dishwasher, one could put it there. But I can hardly sacrifice the space with the amount of dried ingredients that we have to keep on hand. I just put a large bag of rice in one of the baskets. We have a designated basket for rice and beans, so I know to check there. It doesn't really need to be in sight because I know that it's there. My baking cabinet is holding up pretty well for my organization video. I'm adding some vanilla to that. I also grabbed a bag of cornstarch. I'm going to put it where I put the pasta and the einkorn flour just because I don't have a spot necessarily for that, but I'm pretty sure I'll check there if I need it. It's tricky organizing so much stuff. And I grabbed some more olive oil. I do have a designated oil and vinegar spot, so I know exactly where to look when I want that. This is how the pantry is looking. I know it has a lot of stuff, but it's necessary. These are the filters for milking. So we have these little disposable filters that we put in a funnel, which strain out any, random stuff that could get in the milk. And I'm feeling a lot better about it. One of my kids came in and said, "Oh, Mom, the pantry." Because, everybody notices when that pantry is clean. Now it's time to tackle the fridge. I didn't get anything from Azure Standard today that would go in the fridge, but there are a few things that I need to move around in here. This is another space that I shuffle around and mess with all the time. Things are constantly going in, coming out. We do cook nonstop. And now we have excess amounts of eggs and milk. I keep a large amount of eggs on the counter because I think they're really pretty and that's what we grab most of the time. So a lot of the eggs that are in here are ones that I need to get in the freeze dryer. That is on my agenda. Probably tomorrow I'm gonna do that. I have a lot of freeze dried eggs in the pantry already. So what I will do is just label these for 2023, April 2023, and I will use the other ones first in the winter. My goal is that this winter we won't be buying any eggs. I also now have cheese aging in the fridge. My friend Kate from Venison for Dinner has a wonderful course. This is where I learned how to make cheese. It's a very straightforward, easy course. She teaches it in an approachable way. Honestly, in the way that a lot of people say I teach sourdough, kind of ignoring a lot of the very strict rules and just teaching it how a busy mom on a homestead might make cheese. So in her method, you age the cheese right in the refrigerator. So I'm creating a designated drawer. Now this one I can see is probably only gonna fit about 3 wheels, and I have 3 more right now currently sitting in the pantry drying. So I'll have to think of something else. But in the meantime, it's looking pretty good this way. At this point, we probably need a second fridge here on the homestead. So we will address that when that time comes, but it'll be urgent once it does, I'm sure. Like everything. Okay, this place is now so full. I have a few homemade dressings that are almost gone, but I think that they need to be remade. Let's just say that. And this is how it's looking. It's not perfect, but I do feel a lot better about it. All right, well, I hope that you enjoyed going along with me as I unpacked a recent grocery haul and organized everything. Thanks for keeping me company. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you're brand new to my channel, please hit subscribe. I make a new video every week on food from scratch, natural living, and a handmade home.